What's happening, guys and girls? Acrinator here, and welcome to the 39th episode of the Counting Pixelated Sheep podcast for the month of November 2018. I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime and co-host for the show, Sirjohnmac I.
Hello!
That's sort of become standard now, hasn't it? Anyways, the stuff that we have for you this month will be as follows. Parental guidance website expanding its reach. Fans are becoming concerned with Activision's influence over Blizzard. We do have a channel showcase, and then we might have some rambling. I've been giving the Where Are They Now section a little bit of a break so we can create more of a backlog in that regard. Because not everything we cover is necessarily good to go back to, because it's just going to be the same thing or whatnot. But anyways, let's dive straight into the first article, which is the parental guidance website, which is specifically, what was it called? AskAboutGames, which is apparently, I think I've heard of this before, but it's apparently a, sorry if I hit my desk. It's apparently a website where a lot of parents will go to ask about games, I guess title intended, about like whether it's appropriate for their child and whatnot, and apparently it's a rather good resource, especially for Europe, is apparently where most of its traffic is coming from. However, they recently got a new editor, which Andy Robertson, he's the new editor of Ask About Games, which this is very interesting because this is someone who has worked within the games journalism sphere before on other projects in the past, specifically working on video such as YouTube and mostly YouTube nowadays. I guess they could say Vimeo or like an HTML private thing, like I know some game sites still try to do, like Polygon, but mostly YouTube is what his goal is for this, and he's hoping to create an easier dialogue for younger children and their parents, because obviously the kids will understand a video much better, and you could potentially, depending on your knowledge of the medium, display a lot more information in a shorter amount of time than on like a page of a website such as this. He has also written some of the previous places he's worked. This Robertson fellow would be The Guardian, The Telegraph, and BBC, as well as apparently working on YouTube as well. I don't know if that means he has his own channel, but at the very least, the other three, The Guardian, Telegraph, and BBC, I've all heard of before as news websites, so at the very least, he has a good amount of credibility going into that. And I think with this particular goal in mind, I think it's very interesting to see someone just now for a website such as this creating a resource such as this to expand into video and YouTube, because it's such a large platform nowadays. But what are your thoughts, John?
I haven't actually seen a whole lot about the editor himself, but I've been like looking through the website, and it's a really good idea. Like, obviously ESRB and PEGI ratings are decent, but like they don't go very in depth at all. It just like mentions what's in the game without any context.
Yeah, I mean, like, hell, if I go to Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, right? Because what's that game rated? Brothers. Really? A Tale. There we go. Damn, it's on sale for $3. Pick that up if you can.
Ooh.
I already own it, but what is this rating? T for teen? Yeah, okay.
Huh.
I honestly would have guessed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, knowing what's in it, and I'm not going to spoil anything because it deserves to not be spoiled. But
yeah.
But, like, most parents wouldn't even look at the ESRB rating, right? So they would just look at the trailer and be like, oh, this game looks really pretty, it looks really cool, it's just a platforming puzzle RPG. You know, how
it's like Mario.
How bad can it be? And without spoiling anything, let me say that there are some very, very gruesome scenes in it. Nothing like... It's not like Mortal Kombat, fatality level gruesome, but it has a bigger emotional impact. The game preys on your emotions in the best of ways, but I believe I even said this in my formal review of the game. Shameless plug. But if you are like a parent looking at a game like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, that's the kind of game where like you really need to look at reviews, because if you just look at the trailers, you don't quite understand how big of an emotional impact. Like, I would hesitate to show that game to even like my, say, like 11-year-old nephew, right? Like maybe my 13-year-old nephew, because he's a little, he's a few years more mature. But I still feel like that would hit him pretty hard, some of the scenes in that, because that game does not pull its punches.
No.
And it's like a fucking 2-3 hour game, too. So I think that's personally my favorite example of like a game that is way more emotionally impactful than you would ever be able to comprehend. Like, I remember when I first played through it, my jaw just like dropped at certain scenes, because I was like, they did what? And some of them are really early on. Like, we can talk about that later, John, because now I'm on the topic. But like, some of the scenes, they're not even part of the main story. They're like optional things, and you get like little achievements for taking part in them. But like, some of them are really fucking dark. And like, you do something, like you save someone from something, and then you figure out that maybe it would have been better if you didn't save them, because of varying circumstances. And it's like, I really don't want to spoil anything more, because that moment is like, you feel good, like your heart rises a little bit, and then you progress a little bit further down the side path, which is within eyeshot of the main path. You don't, it's not a major divergence. It's just like, oh hey, I'll do this for the next 30 seconds. And then you go a little bit further, and it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have saved the person. And I think you might know what I'm talking about, John. It's like within the first 45 minutes. It's
probably.
It's like on the mountain before you go to the giant castle. I think you know what I mean. And it's like, wow, and I think a website such as what the hell is it called?
AskAboutGames.
That would be something that like a parent would want to know, and that would be something that would be much easier to describe. I believe I show in my formal review in particular, I believe I even show a brief moment of like, you find this battle scene, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but like, you don't go there during the battle, but you see the aftermath, and that's pretty gruesome. And I was hesitant making that review to put that in, because again, I really don't want to spoil the game because it's so short and it's so heavily narratively driven. But that's the sort of thing where it's like, okay, I'm literally talking about like from a parent's perspective in that segment, because I thought about that while making the review. It's like, this is probably important, so it's like, this is relevant, plus it's probably the most gruesome thing that doesn't spoil anything. So yeah, I think especially with this guy's pedigree, working with larger places, especially the BBC, because they seem to have been working with like YouTube and online video content for about the last decade or so. Like, they've been on YouTube making relatively good documentaries for about as long as YouTube has been around. They were one of the first big old media companies to really jump on that bandwagon. And as a result, they make very high quality stuff. And if this guy was, working as a part of that, then that's by itself is quite good, let alone I don't quite know what The Guardian or The Telegraph do in terms of video content. But I think this is a pretty cool resource, to be honest. I can't really see anyone I know using it, mostly because most of the kids in my family are a bit older now, like in their teens, although I do have some younger, like, nephews and a niece who are very young, but then again, my sister and brother-in-law are very knowledgeable about video games because they're relatively young themselves, so that's not really the core audience for this sort of thing, Ask About Games. But
I think it's kind of kind of funny at the like end of all the articles. There's an alternative games, like parents looking for alternatives to this should consider this, and on the like Overwatch page, and I can just imagine the kid who's been like looking forward to Overwatch, like all his friends have been playing it. On Christmas morning, he's opening up the package, and in there is Stardew Valley, a farming game.
Is that really one of the...
That's one of the alternatives, that and like Roblox.
I can see, because it has the online element to it. Stardew Valley, that's a stretch. I guess because it has... I can kind of see the connection, but it's a bit of a stretch.
I mean, I guess they're both like kind of like bright looking games.
I wasn't even thinking about the aesthetic. I was thinking more like you can do so very much. I mean, like, I know the gameplay loop is very linear with Overwatch as opposed to Stardew Valley, but like the customization within the restrictions of what you're allowed to do is massive in terms of Overwatch. You know, the combos and whatnot, but I know the combat isn't a very big thing with Stardew Valley. Do I even own Stardew Valley? That's a good question. I don't even think I own it. I think I have had it on my wish list. Hold on. Nope, I don't. I know I considered owning it at one point. I thought about it once. But yeah. Overall, I think this will definitely be something that maybe in like a year's time come back and be like, hey, this guy, I should keep a list of, like, I keep a list of channels that are worth channel showcasing. I should keep a list of stuff to, like, go back to, you know, because that would help me be like, oh, hey, and maybe, like, my thoughts on, like, a potential... I'm definitely going to organize that. Maybe not right tonight, because tonight I do want to relax a little bit and actually play some games. Probably get footage for this. But yeah, this will definitely be something that's cool to go back to.
Yeah.
So anyways, you want to move on to the next article?
Sure.
This one is rather interesting. It's the Blizzard article. This one, I didn't even hear about this until after BlizzCon, but apparently this was a large thing during BlizzCon, but it was sort of, sort of trumped underneath the Diablo Immortal. First and foremost, I really don't care about Diablo Immortal. Like, I was not up in arms. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks before. It might have even been like 2 months before BlizzCon, where Diablo, the devs came out and said, don't expect any big announcements at BlizzCon. We're working on stuff, but it's going to be a minor announcement. So my mindset was already like, okay, whatever. I'll just let them do their thing. I'm not going to tune into Diablo. That's fine. You know, I was perfectly fine with that. But apparently a lot of people didn't get the memo because a lot of fucking people are angry. Because, like, I specifically remember the devs saying, and I believe I could even go and find that post saying, like, you know, don't expect anything big, but I think people still got their hopes up despite that. They're like, oh no, you're just debating us, and it's like, no, we're not. Like, we are working on Diablo 4 or whatever is going to come after Diablo 3 in the main franchise, but it's not being announced at BlizzCon, and I was actually shocked with the outrage of Diablo Immortal, because I don't think anyone would have cared, and I know a lot of people admitted they wouldn't have cared if there was another announcement. I do agree with people's criticizing Blizzard for making that appear to be a marquee announcement at the same time slot that normally those big announcements like Legion, like Battle for Azeroth have been. But at the same time, I just can't find myself to really care. I'm admittedly probably going to check out Diablo Immortal if it's free. If it's free to play, I'm absolutely going to check it out. If it's pay, probably not. I don't really pay for mobile stuff. But I don't know. That much I'll have to see. But what's more interesting is apparently Mike Morhaime, the long-time CEO and one of the co-founders of Blizzard Entertainment from way back in the day, has stepped down. And I didn't even know about this until, like, literally earlier last week. And that was like, what, a good week and a half after BlizzCon? It's like, I didn't even know about that. And then I heard someone say, like, amidst all the criticism of Blizzard for their Diablo Immortal, and it's, I forget who it was, but someone was on YouTube was saying, like, oh, and then on top of this, Mike Morhaime and blah, 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 Activision. And I was like, wait, what? And apparently, yeah, Mike Morhaime stepped down. It's a little bit fuzzy as to right now whether he stepped down because of internal struggles within against, like, Activision or not. But at the very least, what people are concerned about, and the main purpose of this article, is to highlight a lot of fans' concerns over basically Blizzard, because Activision seems to have been taking a little bit more of an aggressive stance within the company as of late, mostly because, and this is supposedly according to former Blizzard employees, where because Blizzard isn't making any new IPs, I mean, hell, Overwatch was their first new IP in like, what, 12, 14 years? You know, because they've really been working off of the same three, Diablo, StarCraft, Warcraft, for the longest time, and Overwatch being 2 years old now, they're probably not going to make a new IP for at least another 5 years, my guess, following the standard Blizzard pattern. So because of that, Activision isn't like shutting Blizzard down, but they're sort of trying to consolidate their resources. Business-wise, it makes sense. However, when you realize that it's Blizzard who is definitively the more successful company of the two, or rather branch of the company, like, yes, Activision has Call of Duty and Destiny, but like, Destiny in and of itself has been an absolute financial flop. I mean, I don't think the profits from the first and second Destiny combined have recouped the, what was it, $1.6 billion it took to develop the first Destiny? Like, I remember Destiny was touting right before its launch that it was one of the first games, if not the first game at that point in time, that took $1 billion to make. I remember that was one of their big things. You know, and it's like, the Call of Duties, yeah, everyone buys them, but the review scores aren't particularly good, whereas Blizzard, literally, I believe, StarCraft and Warcraft, and possibly Diablo, I'm not entirely sure, but at the very least, I know StarCraft and Warcraft were in the first two, classes for the Video Game Hall of Fame. World of Warcraft was in the very first class. That's prestigious in and of itself. So it's like, yes, technically, I'm sure Call of Duty makes a lot more money in some aspects. I damn well know Destiny isn't making any fucking money. I know that because they gave it away for free during BlizzCon. I don't know if they gave it away free to everyone, but I got one for free. I technically own Destiny 2 right now. Yep. So, like, you damn well know if they're giving it away, they can't. They literally couldn't give it away unless they gave it away. You know? So, yeah, it's very interesting to hear that, like, the newer CFO, Chief Financial Officer for Blizzard, is an Activision goon. J. Allen Brack, who is, for all intents and purposes, a Blizzard veteran, so at the very least the new CEO is still, like, within Blizzard. But yeah, a lot of Blizzard employees, past and present, have anonymously been coming forward to various sources. I believe Kotaku's Jason Schreier, I believe his name is, corroborated with a lot of anonymous Blizzard employees, like current Blizzard employees, to say, like, there's a lot of stuff going on with, like, the way bonuses / salaries work within the company, and I know there's a whole issue with that, but that's probably for, like, an economist to analyze. And while I did technically take, like, agricultural economics in college, it's very different from actual economics. So I'm not even going to attempt to touch that. But I guess the takeaway from that part of this would be that there is a bit of a buzz amuck within Blizzard, Activision Blizzard even.
It's like that sitcom trope where, like, the two roommates really don't want to be together. Like, they tape they stick tape down the middle of the room, and, like, anytime the other roommate isn't looking, the bad roommate, like, inches the tape closer and closer to, like, take up more of the room.
You know what's funny? Is that Activision, back in 2007, was the good guys. Because, I mean, like, they were never the good guys, but they bought Blizzard stock out from underneath Vivendi, which, I mean, a lot of people who follow the game industry even casually know how fucking shit Vivendi is. They are a big reason as to why Blizzard was starting to lose credibility around the time of Wrath of the Lich King / Burning Crusade. And it wasn't until, like, slowly but surely Blizzard worked with Activision to sell them stocks, basically, and to the point where Activision essentially just merged with them. I mean, how... Go ahead.
Well, just out of curiosity, I looked up, like, because everyone knows, like, how much stuff Activision publishes, but I wanted to see what they actually developed. The last thing that I can find they developed was Call of Duty Strike Team for the iPad.
Oh no. When did that release?
2013.
I thought so. I thought it was around like 2014. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, Activision Blizzard as a company, at least prior to the Diablo Immortal thing, I'd imagine still to this point, even though they have suffered losses, I doubt they've suffered that many losses, were the second largest games company in the world, behind only Tencent, which, by the way, Tencent also owns part of Blizzard. Or Activision Blizzard, I suppose, because they are the same, one and the same at this point.
Yeah.
And personally, as a Blizzard fan, I do have some fears as well for the company. Especially if they keep taking this mentality of, like, cutting corners, because that's definitely not the Activision or the Blizzard way. It's certainly the Activision way. I'm sure, like, within the next couple of years we won't see very much change, but I think, like, 5 to 7 years out we'll be able to see, like, whether this was actually something to be worried about or not, because that's when those internal policies will start to actually kick in. It's like I'm sure the developers will... the developers that are currently working on stuff like... I forget the name of the code name for the project that is assumed to be Diablo 4. It's confirmed to be a Diablo project. I'm not sure if it's a mainline Diablo project or not. But I know that's in the, like, mid to early stages of development, so it's like they're actually moving along. So I'm sure those projects will go along well enough, but it's like, 1 or 2 expansions from now for, like, World of Warcraft, that's where we might see the impact start to take. I know also there's supposed to be some sort of mobile game similar to Pokemon Go for Warcraft. A lot of people have speculated it has something to do with the battle pets, which in all honesty, that might be something to get me into battle pets. Because if anyone can do Pokemon Go right, it'll be Blizzard. Like, let's be honest here. Because I sure as shit ain't Niantic. I think we've thrashed on them enough over the past, 3 years now? I mean, I think we've literally covered Pokemon Go since, like, 2015. Around fall 2015. So, yeah.
I'm scared.
I'm not. I play enough things where... I play enough games, and I have enough in my backlog where it's like... I feel like even if Blizzard goes down the shitter in the next 5 years, which I highly doubt, they're too successful to go down that fast. Fingers crossed. But I feel like, if anything, they will start to suffer a little bit. And maybe their reputation will take a bit of a hit from that. But then Blizzard will probably start to gain a little bit more ground, because then, the Blizzard veterans that are still there, or even the Blizzard veterans that aren't still there, could be like, hey, look, dumbasses, we were successful when you just kept to your own shit and let us do our thing. Like, you were making plenty of money, and it was beyond profitable. And in the meantime, you can go publish another failure of a game, But leave Blizzard's shit alone, because they definitely make mistakes, but they're definitely morally sound enough for me to have enough faith in them to do things right if they're allowed to do things their own way. You know, like, they've done right by their player base enough that they have the benefit of the doubt. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to criticize them. I do, like I said before, I don't particularly care about Diablo Immortal. However, the presentation of it was awful. I will say that much. But I am also willing to wait and see the game actually launch before I fully criticize Diablo Immortal, for example. So I do want to be perfectly clear here. I'm not like a fanboy where they can do no wrong. I mean, hell, Warlords of Draenor and the Burning Crusade and the original Diablo 3, you know, a whole lot of that's Project Titan. That's like a whole bunch of good examples for how Blizzard can fuck up, but then they make up for it with like Wrath of the Lich King, with Legion, with hell, Overwatch, Reaper of Souls. You know, they always try to do good. They always try to learn from their mistakes, and that's all I can really ask for, personally at least.
Overconfidence is a flimsy shield.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's all I really have. There's not much more to say without being redundant.
Yeah.
So you want to move on to the channel showcase, which is Bismuth. He is a channel that is basically speedrunning, but more recently, specifically his last two videos, one posted like 2 weeks ago as of recording this, and then one posted like 8 months ago, which is the original one I found him from, are like instead of speedrunning like himself, he is analyzing speedruns, which I find really, really interesting. I don't really care to watch most speedruns, usually because they involve like glitches and stuff, and if I'm watching gameplay, I usually just want to see like the playthrough. Big reason as to why I personally play through games. But I find his analysis, his editing, his entire production process to be really well done. Like, what was the other channel? Summoning Salt is like another one that John reminded me of, which I actually had found prior to him saying so today. But that's another one that's like really, really, really high quality. There are a few in like the speedrunning community that are like kind of medium to low quality, like what's his name? Apollo Legend, where he seems more like drama-esque, which it's hard to believe that such a small community has drama, but then again, it's the internet, so where like, you know, some of his videos, for example, can feel very standoffish in a way, whereas Bismuth is purely just like, here's the history of this, here's how they did it, here's why they did it, here's an example, like a video example of how they did this glitch, you know? And some of the footage might be himself like getting the trick done, but I think a lot of the footage is him like finding the appropriate footage and putting it into the video, which takes a lot, especially when you're trying to piece together basically a timeline of player events. It's like trying to piece together the timeline of like early competitive Overwatch prior to Overwatch League. Like, I never really followed it that much, but Jesus Christ, like, I respect the hell out of people who can, because it's such a small niche and dedicated audience that people like Bismuth can actually put together these like timelines of events over the course of, you know, maybe like a year and a half, for I think one of the Mario speedruns that he covered, like world record wise. I don't know, even if you're not into speedruns, which I'm usually not, I find this sort of like really well edited content very interesting. I know you checked out at least some of his more recent stuff, John.
Yeah, this is kind of like this can apply to this channel and Summoning Salt, but just like kind of watching the progression, how it goes like sometimes down by minutes when certain techniques are discovered, is just like so cool. Yeah,
especially I find it really cool when they show the progression of like, someone discovered this trick, someone discovered that it's like possible, now they discovered that you can do it here and you can also do it here, and then someone like eventually further down the line actually pulls off the trick. And at least with like the more popular stuff like Summoning Salt, for example, with the Mario Kart whatchamacallit, Mario Kart Super Shortcuts or whatever the hell they're called. And with Bismuth with like these very, very minor frame tricks with Super Mario Bros. And like getting into like the netcode essentially of the game. It's very interesting to see, like after the story's all said and done, both of these people, but I guess Bismuth in particular, since he's the actual channel being showcased, Sounding Salt I believe has like 400k subscribers, whereas Bismuth has like 13, right? Somewhere around there. But either way, they always end off with saying, like, here's how it can be done better, oftentimes showing footage from, like, a tool-assisted speedrun, basically meaning a computer. And it's really cool to see, like, wow, this is technically humanly possible. You have to be beyond lucky, and it's probably not going to happen for the next 120 years, but it's possible. Watch it happen, like, 6 months from now. One sec, I'm looking up how many subs he has. 27k. Okay. So on the upper end. I think I found him when he had like 13 or so k, but I think his most recent 2 videos have really drawn in a much larger audience. Definitely worth checking out. If you're interested in really like any sort of history of video games, basically if you're interested in video games in general, this is going to be interesting to you. I almost guarantee it. Unless you're like 12 and only into Fortnite Let's Plays, then rip. But anyways, that's all I've got. Do you have anything to ramble about? I don't really have that much this month to ramble about.
Rambling. I was gonna bring up Diablo Immortal, but we kind of spearheaded that.
Yeah. Fair enough, because we did have an entire section on just Blizzard. What the hell has even happened recently? Not much. BlizzCon was really the entire news of November. That and I think Red Dead Redemption, but I think that might have come out October, late October. I don't know. I don't play it. I just know every fucking article in the world for, I think it was last month, because every fucking article in the world for the October podcast was Red Dead Redemption, the top 10 places to farm fucking beaver hides, and it's like no one cares. Or at least I don't care. I'm the only one who matters.
Yeah, I hate that Rockstar are doing the same thing they did with GTA 5, and they're gonna just like release the console version and then just like a year or two later release the PC version so people buy it twice.
Yeah. Oh damn.
I guess at least it's not like 2 console generations and PC all staggered at different release dates.
Oh my god, yeah. I was just scrolling through the all the fucking Cyber Monday articles, because we're currently filming this on Cyber Monday, in my Flipboard app, and apparently that old lady who used to stream on Twitch Skyrim, or Morrowind, or Oblivion, or whatever the hell, it was Skyrim. She passed away.
Aww.
Yeah, well, she's old. Like, I'm pretty sure she was like 90 something. Hold on, let me see.
That's still sad.
Oh, 82. No, yeah. That's a long ass life. And she got to spend like the last 3 or 4 of it sharing her passion of Skyrim with probably at least a few thousand people.
Dude, it's gonna be so weird when like PewDiePie and Ninja and like XQC and like that, like kind of this generation starts getting to be old and like dying off, not from being like swatted or some shit like that, but like has anyone ever actually died from being swatted? Not to like down. Oh, yeah. Really? I've actually never heard of anyone being swatted, like dying from being swatted. There was one in Kansas.
Really?
Wichita. Maybe it was just.
Because I know there's always been like, oh, you know, this person got injured because, you know, the police like tackled him to the ground or what, but like I've never heard of anyone actually dying from that. Fatal Kansas swatting. Oh, yeah, I did hear I did hear about this Kansas one. Right, okay. Okay, yeah, so there has actually been a lethal swatting. The case for that, was actually just recently came to a conclusion, I believe. Or some sort of progress was made. I'm pretty sure I heard about that recently. I completely forgot that that was a swatting. Because I just think of it as a cyber stalking case, because that's also part of the charges. But I forgot that actually started with a swatting. Yep, okay. So that is one, but that was more of like a malicious attack as opposed to like the stereotypical kid who just wants to see the reaction of the streamer. Because I don't think this was an actual streamer doing it, as much as just like an offline SWAT, I guess. No less terrible and disgusting.
Yeah. That shit's scary.
Yeah.
For several reasons, most of which I don't think we'll probably be getting into.
No. I just thought of, getting on a lighter note, I just thought of XQC as like a middle-aged man. I see a lot of his highlights because I'm subscribed to Noob Hunter. He does YouTube Overwatch highlights. Personally, I think he's the best because he has like absolutely zero clickbait, unlike Fresh Nuts and like the stereotypical like other Overwatch highlight stuff. And towards the end of his videos, he always have like a clip of someone getting scared, but he'll cut it off right as they scream, so it's really funny for some reason, and it never gets old. So I really like him, and he's the one that I'm subscribed to. But so I don't really watch XQC, but I see a fair amount of his highlights, obviously being a larger Overwatch streamer, at least up until late. I can watch him in short bursts, XQC, for like a highlight here and there, but like I could not stand watching him. The sad part is I'm pretty sure he's the exact same age as us. Like I'm pretty sure he's about 23. If not maybe a little bit younger, but I'm pretty sure he's in like his early 20s. And he's like that damn hyper.
He's legitimately like a month younger than us.
Wait, seriously? Hold on. XQC. Holy shit, yeah, wow, he is almost he's like a month younger than us. Wow. Granted, I've always said he needed like meds or something. There's no way someone like that is that hyperactive without having like some sort of dysfunction with like their brain chemistry. And that's not to say like he's autistic or anything. It's more to say like there are tons of people who have like ADHD and stuff who need medication to just like keep them on the down and like chill, you know. He has his own Wikipedia page.
Of course he does.
He is. I mean, man, he fucking had more viewers solo playing Minecraft than the entire category of Overwatch at one point, which I found really funny.
Yeah, that was like immediately after he got banned.
Yeah. He is like one of the big reasons why Minecraft is coming back right now. Yeah. I agreed with his punishment. I don't even know where the hell this rambling section is going, but it's rambling, so who cares? I agreed with his punishments around this time last year, where he threw a game with Rascal in it. Like he was just playing Bastion, it wasn't even trying, and Rascal was getting tilted as fuck, which I can't blame him. And then like, I think a month prior or a month after that, he was abusing the report system against a Sim 1 trick. It might have actually been Steve-O. And, like, I supported those bands, but, like, basically everything since then I haven't supported. Like, I feel like Blizzard has been unfairly targeting him as someone who supported his punishments previously and who's definitely not a fan of his. But I can see when they're playing... Basically, they're playing him as a scapegoat, and I don't like it. And it's getting to the point now where people who are part of the Overwatch community who normally don't care about XQC, like pros like... oh, shit. I know King Michael... who's actually channel. I think that was the first channel we ever showcased. Funny to think. As well as, I believe, Avast, formerly of the Boston Uprising, have said, like, you know, Blizzard has absolutely handled it wrong and they should have been reaching out to him to work with him. Like, this is after he was out of the league, as opposed to just, like, shunning him, because I can't imagine he's going to want to come back if he finds massive success playing other games as a variety streamer. So I feel like that's another aspect of Blizzard that is kind of fucking up. But yeah, that's all I've really got. Do you have anything else to ramble about, or?
I mean... we could go into the Steam sale, but Steam sales are just like...
It's a lot of this... At this point, it's sort of the same thing every year with a few new titles. I had considered doing a Steam sale video series at one point, like whenever there was a big Steam sale, but I realized very quickly when I started conceptualizing later into the phase of conceptualizing that it's like, it's going to be the same stuff every single year, plus or minus a few different things. You know, it's like, how do I build upon that? You don't. So, there's not really much. I know the Steam Awards nominations are open. I looked at it and I was like, these categories are fucking retarded. But what else is new? After last year where the categories were just so fucking niche and stupid that they legitimately just wanted to give out awards for very specific games, it's like, okay, whatever. I just stopped caring at that point. So, do you have anything else, or do you want to close it off?
I think I'm good.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this month's episode of the podcast, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. Links to our social medias and whatnot, as well as all of the references, will be in the description below. Have any final statements, John?
Nope.
I was expecting something, but...
Every month, I tell myself I'm gonna think of something for next month, and then I just don't.
The funny thing is, you do shit before we start recording. Like, you'll just pull out your ukulele and just start playing, and it's like, you probably have it within arm's reach or some shit. Like, whatever. Anyways, that's all the time we've got for today. So until next time, don't die.